Subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to never miss an update from Kautilya's Fincast. Welcome to Kautilya's Fincast from July 16 to July 31, 2020. Let's begin with corporate news. European Court annulled an EU order that Apple repay Ireland €13 billion in back taxes, in a major legal setback for Brussels, which Apple's CEO Tim Cook slammed at the time as total political crap. Reliance Industries Limited has sprung a surprise by announcing it is ready with its own home-grown technology for fifth-generation telephony to take part in trials along with the established players Ericsson, Huawei, Nokia, Siemens and Samsung. National Capital Region are offering property swap schemes to homebuyers stuck in stalled projects, providing them an option to switch to another property if they are ready to pay at least 70% of the price of the new. Tata Sons is looking at raising up to $1 billion, in rupee and dollar, to infuse fresh equity into group companies particularly impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic to conduct the capital raise. Revenues in dollar terms dropped 7.4% at HCL sequentially in the June quarter, even higher than the 7.1% drop at TCS. Infosys had reported a 2.4% decline in dollar revenue, but margins were better than expected. The 63-year-old tycoon will likely deploy the same strategy used to make Jio a market leader and raised more than $22 billion in a rights issue and through selling stakes in Reliance to foreign investors. This partnership will enable Odisha's local artisans, weavers and craftsmen to showcase their hallmark products to millions of customers across the country. Well-known brands from Odisha such as Boyanika, Utkalika, etc., will set up stores on Flipkart Marketplace. The airline had issued an internal order asking its departmental heads and regional directors to identify employees, based on factors like efficiency, health and redundancy, who will be sent on compulsory LWP for up to 5 years. The bank's net interest income grew 17.8% year-on-year to 15,665.4 crore rupees. Net interest margin stood at 4.3%, unchanged from first quarter of 2019. The Finance Ministry's move to impose an equalization levy of 2% on e-commerce supplies and services from April 1 has led to a lot of ambiguity and needs clarity, according to tax experts. E-commerce firms face greater risks of revenue loss as they depend on delivery executives who are more likely to contract the respiratory disease given the nature of operations. India's debt profile set to worsen sharply in FY21, with mounting government borrowing and falling nominal GDP where, the country's debt-to-GDP ratio worsening, rising from 67.4% in FY12 to 72.2% in FY20. The United States has listed Jio among the companies that are becoming clean telco, as they are rejecting doing business with tools of the Chinese Communist Party's surveillance state, like Huawei. Britannia Industries will invest 700 crore rupees to open more factories as demand for packaged food has exceeded production capacity, with rural markets outpacing urban sales, where it expanded sales by 25%, an 8-year high, and doubled profit. Several big U.S. business groups sued the Trump administration seeking to throw out immigration restrictions, including those on H-1B visas issued to highly skilled workers with expertise in specialty fields. All three life insurers saw their value of new business plummet as the pandemic and the ensuing lockdown crippled sales and premium collections. SBI Life reported a 29% fall in its value of new business, and the most valuable HDFC Life fell 43%. PNB Housing had a 10% fall in its net profit, and total income during the first quarter fell to 1,872.33 crore rupees. But with opening of branches there is an increasing trend. Wipro said it will acquire Brazil-based IVIA services for $22.4 million. This combination, along with Wipro's reach across the region and industry, will help them become a dominant player in Europe and a leader in Salesforce quote-to-cash domain. India's Mukesh Ambani overtook Steve Ballmer to become the fifth wealthiest person on the planet, with a net worth of $77.4 billion. His fortune has surged by $18.8 billion since the beginning of the year. ICRA Ratings has assigned AAA stable rating to ONGC's 5,000 crore rupees non-convertible debentures due to their dominant market position in the domestic crude oil and natural gas production business with large proved reserves. Amit Agarwal said the Amazon is investing in new fulfillment centers and opening up jobs as it's seen a significant spike in the number of sellers and shoppers coming online and also plans to power Atmanirbhar Bharat. Private sector bank ACC Bank Limited reported a 36% year-on-year jump in net profit to 2,599 crore rupees for the first quarter of 2020 owing to higher treasury income from sale of investments. Chinese telecom equipment maker Huawei has slashed its India revenue target for 2020 by up to 50% and is laying off 60 to 70% of staff, excluding those in research and development and the Global Service Center. Let's begin with market news. SEBI has set the ball rolling for the full-fledged development of the country's nascent corporate bond market. NSE and BSE operate corporate bond platforms but are merely systems for reporting corporate bond deals. Bank of Baroda has raised 764 crore rupees by issuing Basel III compliant bonds on private placement basis and also issued and allotted unsecured rated listed subordinated non-convertible fully paid-up Basel III additional Tier 1 perpetual bonds. Yes Bank Limited closed its FPO with 95% subscription and received subscriptions for shares worth 14,267 crore rupees in the FPO, at the lower end of the price band of 12 rupees to 13 rupees per share. The second tranche of Bharat Bond ETF oversubscribed more than 3 times, collecting around 10,000 crore rupees. The base issue size was 3,000 crore rupees and a green shoe option of 11,000 crore rupees, taking the total to 14,000 crore rupees. The share price movement and financial indicators were found to be ideal for stock split proposal at the current scenario. The board unanimously decided to defer the proposal to subdivide the equity shares to the company. HDFC Bank reported first quarter net profit rose 19.6% to 6,658.6 crore rupees from first quarter 2019, helped by double-digit growth in net interest income and reduced operating costs. Foreign portfolio investors remain net sellers in Indian markets in July so far, as they pulled out 9,015 crore rupees from equity and debt securities, with surging markets providing profit-booking opportunity amid concerns over rising cases of COVID-19. Indian bonds may start losing their appeal as RBI nears the end of its easing cycle, where foreign investors have sold more than $14 billion of Indian bonds so far this year in the worst debt outflow among emerging Asian nations. Shares of BEML rose as much as 2.29% after the company received a 557 crore rupees order from the Defence Ministry for supply of 1512 track-width mine plough for T-90 tanks of Indian Armoured Corps. The electric vehicle market is likely to be 50,000 crore rupees opportunity in India by 2025, with 2- and 3-wheelers expected to drive higher electrification of the vehicles in the medium term in the wake of COVID-19. SEBI restrained 5 Core Electronics Limited and its promoters from the securities market till further orders for alleged violation of market norms and misutilization of the IPO proceeds. India's retail investors are leaving their mark on a risky corner of the nation's share market, penny stocks. A custom index of 800 stocks quoting below 5 rupees trounced the S&P BSE Sensex index by 33% points this year. A technical error on the NSE, or National Stock Exchange, resulted in the Axis Gold ETF and Axis Nifty ETF logging surprise spikes of 6,553% and 741%, respectively. Co-founder Shibulal and his family members have 8.5 million shares or 0.20% paid-up share capital in the company between 22nd and the 24th of July, with estimated proceeds from sale being more than 780 crore rupees. Retail investors' fancy for about a dozen stocks helped them deliver disproportionate returns since March lows. It happened without any visible improvement in these companies' fundamentals, raising doubts about the sustainability of the rally. Yes Bank Limited stock fell for the 6th consecutive session, hitting the 10% lower circuit after its FPO shares started trading. The stock was trading at 12 rupees and 30 paise on BSE, 10% down from its previous close and 74% year-to-date. Let's begin with economy news. The benchmark Consumer Price Index had eased to 5.91% in March from a peak of 7.52% in January. Economists expect the CPI index to come down towards 4% by the end of this calendar year. India's first monthly trade surplus in 18 years stood at $0.79 billion in June as compared to a trade deficit of $3.15 billion in May 2020 and $15.28 billion in June 2019. The tunnel, which will be constructed under river Brahmaputra, will have two different capsules for seamless movement of traffic from both the sides. The tunnel will connect Gopur NH54 with Numaligarh NH37 in Assam. China's GDP growth has swung back sharply into the black in the first quarter, driven by a bounce back in manufacturing output and a public spending boost. India is exploring the possibility of storing crude oil in the Strategic Petroleum Reserve of the U.S., as part of its energy security strategy. This will help India to tackle emergency situations and help it tide over short-term supply disruptions. Over 1,300 exporters who wrongfully claimed GST refunds worth 1,875 crore rupees have been found untraceable at their main place of business, as government identified 7,516 entities as risky exporters going by red flags raised. Railways terminated the contract of a Chinese firm for signaling and telecommunication work on the Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor due to poor progress that was to be executed on a 417 km section of the corridor. Ministry of Defence discussed the issue of inviting Australia for the trilateral Malabar naval exercise with Japan and United States. The final decision been delayed in view of ongoing standoff with China on the line of actual control. World Bank analyzes the impact of epidemics on global productivity. It shows that epidemics left lasting scars on labor productivity, with 4 major epidemics lowering labor productivity by 1% and by 4% cumulatively after 3 years. The rules making it mandatory for e-commerce platforms and marketplaces, like Amazon and Flipkart, to display the country of origin of products, which was notified in last week of July. RBI will continue to offer swap arrangement within the overall corpus of $2 billion, while the drawals can be made in US dollar, euro or Indian rupee. The case relates to default committed by RCom on the repayment of principal amount of 375 crore rupees and interest of 9.7 crore rupees due in February 2017 and March 2017, respectively. The Income Tax Department can now share the PAN data of an individual or an entity with Financial Intelligence Unit. This will assist FIU to dig deeper into large cash transaction or any suspicious transactions at the banks. The report Will Non-Metro Market Propel India's Recovery reveals that a higher percentage of non-metros market expect to send more than before on several categories compared to metro markets. Economic Affairs Secretary Tarun Bajaj said that monetization of debt is not on the government's agenda at the moment, while pointing that there are some positive signs on the revenue collection front. India's third-largest private sector lender has picked advisors including BNP Paribas SA and Credit Suisse Group AG to manage its proposed share sale. It has also chosen HSBC Holdings plc and UBS Group AG for the offering. While private sector has been exempted from any such restriction, the order is for all public sector banks and financial institutions. India has cancelled railway and road tenders by Chinese companies and barred 59 Chinese apps on national security grounds. The Indian economy is likely to face inflationary pressures in the near term, as factors like supply chain disruption and lack of low-wage workers are expected to offset the deflationary pressures from subdued demand in the economy. Cross-sectional area-wise, it is one of the biggest railway tunnels in India. Once operational, a double-stack container goods train will be able to run at a speed of more than 100 km/h in this tunnel.